Hello everyone. Today's missionary story is about a lady who lived more than 150 years before us, and her name is Amy Carmichael.
Amy Carmichael was born in Ireland in 1867. She was born to a wealthy family.
Her father owned a flour mill business.
But soon her father's business began to lose money, and eventually they had to close the business down. So this made her father very ill, and that caused his death. Amy had to drop out of school, and she spent the next 10 years helping her mom and her younger siblings. She always had a heart to serve the poor. On Saturday evenings, she would go with her pastor to the poor neighborhoods to hand out tracts and food to these poor people. When she was 20 years old, she attended a Keswick Convention, and that time she heard Hudson Taylor. And in that convention, Hudson Taylor spoke about missionary life, and this convinced her to go into the mission field. But she had a very rare disease. This was the disease of the nerves, which made her body achy and weak, and at times she had to be in bed for days together. She initially wanted to go to China as a missionary, but at the last moment, due to her health conditions, she couldn't travel. But then later, she ended up going to Japan.
She was in Japan only for 15 months. One day, she was challenged by a Buddhist man to see her life lived for God.
She then decided to go to India as a missionary. In 1900, she moved to Dohnavur, which is situated in Tamil Nadu, which is in the southern part of India. She went around the countryside preaching the gospel.
One day, Preena, a little temple girl, was so impressed with what Amy was preaching that God did not put people in different classes as the Indian caste system did.
Soon after, Preena ran away from the temple and arrived at Amy's door, and Amy took her in, even though this decision could cost her her life.
This incident happened in 1901. Rescuing Preena, the first temple child, enabled her to start an orphanage which eventually became the Dohnavur Fellowship. These Hindu temple children were actually young girls dedicated to their gods, and some of them forced into prostitution to earn money for the priests. With God's help, Amy was able to rescue some of these girls from these forced prostitution. In 1931, Amy was walking through the construction site of the new hospital, and she fell into a pit. This incident affected her mobility, and for the next 20 years, she was completely bedridden. And during this period, she wrote more than 15 books. Here are some of her achievements. She wrote many books which inspired many. The Dohnavur Fellowship rescued many girls from prostitution. Her example as a missionary inspired others, including Jim Elliot and many others, to pursue such similar path. Amy spent 50 years of her life in India without a furlough. And she was called the Amma or mother of many of these unwanted or temple children. This is one of Amy's famous quotes. It is a safe thing to trust him to fulfill the desires which he creates.
She died in India in 1951.
Her life reminds us of John 12:24. Most assuredly I say to you, unless a grain of wheat falls into the ground and dies, it remains alone. But if it dies, it produces much grain. Surely she was one of those seeds that were planted in the ground and it began to take root. I hope Amy Carmichael's life has been an inspiration to you, and I'll be back with more missionary stories. And until next time, have a blessed day.
Thanks for watching this video.